Aloha and welcome to the Path of Me podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and I wanted to create a sacred space for soul to soul conversations with people sharing their light through their passion, power, and purpose. Thank you all so much for being here. Let me introduce my next amazing podcast guest. Hey everyone, welcome to the Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson. I have the beautiful Liliana Hernandez, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, longtime friend of mine. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. How are you doing?
I'm great. I've had you on a couple times, and every time I want more of you.
And here I am.
Here you are. We were talking maybe a couple weeks ago, and we were really going kind of deep on how we are really speaking our truth now. And we're so uncensored and unfiltered these days. So maybe you can tell us a little about this shift that you have been experiencing.
Definitely. I mean, where to start, right? Because there's so many shifts on so many different levels. Work, life. My kids are way older. They're so independent. They're each doing their thing. Um, being more, and I think I don't know. Remind me, what were we talking about? Because right now the only thing I have in my mind is I ended up, and I don't know if I shared this with you, Wendy. I ended up sharing some items online in regards to this process that I'm working on. I'm trying to hone in on something. For right now, the working title is the Corazon Reclamation Method.
Mhm.
And I came to the realization with all the work that I've done in the therapy field that this was kind of something I did often with the women I was working. So I work with women 40 and over that are kind of going through transitions in life. Um, Empty nesting, divorces, parents leaving, just in regards to death, divorces, etc. And how women have came to this conclusion of just sort of, I don't even know who I am anymore. So, I had realized that I would often work with these women in this sense. So, being able to understand that there are patterns that we've been raised in, that we have to become very aware of those patterns to know where they came from and how to change them. We can't change something we don't identify.
Mm.
Um, to be able to really learn to use your voice, set boundaries in all aspects of our life, and then be able to use our voice to be able to really dive into what are the things that you wanted or that you feel that you've lost yourself in. So anyways, I made this post and it took some traction. And then I had this moment of like, whoa,
Yeah.
hold on. What are we doing here? What did you say? And all those thoughts that just hit me of like, okay, that means you're less invisible, right? You're more seen.
Yes.
People
Yes.
judge what.
Hmm.
And sure enough, I got 2 phone calls and they were like, what? What's the situation here? Why are we talking about this? And I was like, "Ah." So, yes, all of that.
Fully exposed. Fully
Fully
exposed.
accounts it, you
Yeah.
know?
It's
Yes.
kind of the breakthrough moment, right? When you have known your whole life that this is your role. You have this inner calling and it's deep. It's not just an idea, but it's like from your soul. And you are helping people to reclaim themselves, their authenticity, their voice. And honestly, it's such powerful and noble work. But even with all of the professional success, there's been almost kind of a invisibility shield that we have either hid behind or not really been seen or heard in the way that we felt we were meant to be seen or heard. But it seems like there's this radical shift right now where it's actually time. Like maybe it just wasn't time, and now
Yeah.
it's your time.
Yeah, and I feel like there's again, whether it's the energy of the moon, the shift of all these changes that are going on, that there
Mhm,
is this place of feeling there's something different, even in coming across because you're right, the invisibility I work from home, virtual, 100% of my clients are online. So there is a sense of just being there's this it's anonymous in a certain aspect. It's a one-on-one. We
mhm,
talk, the
mhm,
end, I'll see you next week. And then when you share some of these, ideas online and you have so many people resonating, and then all the thoughts and all, everything that gets flooded of, "Oh, this is different." Same work, but different,
mhm,
right? And yeah, there's just, again, so much, just coming into this place, at least for me in this moment right now, because I've always been sort of outspoken. I mean,
mhm.
in one way or another. Um, but this is different.
You
It's
can
different.
feel it, right?
You can feel it. Yes.
You feel
Even
like
in
some sort of traction.
yes, traction and in this feeling of like, yes, there was this moment like, "Oh my god, what did I do?" And I had a moment of like and literally it was a moment because once I got these 2 phone calls, I thought, "And
Exactly.
and what?" Right?
Mhm,
One of
mm,
my thoughts was, if you wanted nicer stories to be shared about you, then you should have acted accordingly.
exactly. True.
Bottom line. And I'm not exposing, I'm not sharing names, I'm sharing a story. Now, if that resonated with you and you thought it was about
Right, pay attention to that, right? If
no,
the shoe fit,
like, it well, kind of, yeah, that had an involvement of you, but a few other people in my life, because these are interestingly, Wendy, and this is a question. In the work that we do and the work that you do, how often do you feel that there are things that happen over and over and over until you learn your lesson from it?
1000%. 1000.
So it happens, and then you finally set a limit, you set a boundary,
Mhm,
and then that starts to happen less and less,
right.
and every so often, the universe says, "Just checking." You and they send you this person, and you're like,
Yeah.
"God, here we go again."
One last dance, right? One last dance with it.
And it just, happens to so that's kind of where I've been for a minute, and I love
Mhm,
the person I've continued to grow into in saying, "These are the boundaries I have. I'm okay with you not speaking to me. I'm okay with go ahead and share how you feel.
mhm.
I listen to that. Doesn't mean I own it. It doesn't mean I'm covered in it. Sometimes I just have to think, that has nothing to do with me."
Most often, it has nothing to do with us.
Well,
Often, it's the wound projection, right?
1000%.
So being discerning around that, being able to understand that, but also hold strong boundaries and not play into it is a huge level up. When we're no longer reactive, when we can sit and hold the space as that's coming through and just say, okay, well, I'm going to get off the phone now and you can feel what you need to feel about this. Right.
And I often share that even in my own sessions. Like, there's going to be a moment that you caused, that it wasn't maybe intentional and that you hurt the other person, and we have to sit with that. Like,
Right.
"Thank you for saying that. That wasn't my intention. I don't wanna gaslight you into anything. Thank you for telling me." And being able to have that type of discernment is important. And
Mhm.
there are other times that, one I'll share. My I was married 30 years ago to my boy's father, and, um, in my head, I went into the situation thinking, "I don't know how long, if this is the guy for me, it'll work out. If it's not, I'm 20 at this point." And we get together, we move in. Within a couple of weeks of us moving in, he wants to go out and hang out with the boys. He wanted to go to Vegas for the weekend. And I just thought, yeah, it's not gonna work for me. It's
Mhm.
not. And we got into an argument. Mind you, I was 20. Not my best moment, but he was like he was he's always been this very calm, and I have to respect him for that. He doesn't argue at like this tone. He's just very like, "No, it's fine. I'll be back a couple of days. It's not a big deal." And he's packing, and I'm like, "No, hell no." I'm like at the top
You're
of my
fired up.
fired. And he's just, "No," and he's like, "Okay, all right, well, I'll see you on," I don't know, I think Monday, whatever it was. And he walks out, and I'm literally like, shell how dare he? I went to the closet and I gathered anything and everything I can pick up between this, and I take it off and I walk over. We lived on the second floor. I go to the balcony and I chuck it. His friend was waiting for him downstairs, and he looks at me like, "Oh my," he and I were cordial, and he's
Right.
like, right, and I'm like, "You want him? Take him." And I walk back in, and I am livid. I mean, at this, I'm just in tears because I'm like,
Mhm.
"How disrespectful." And I'm looking through the balcony, like blinds, and he's like helping him pick everything up. And he puts it in his truck and they drive away. And I was like, ah, right? Okay, fast forward half an hour later, I see him walking back up the street with a trash bag. And he walks into the house and he doesn't say a word to me. He goes straight to the bedroom. And I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to work out. Okay. So at the end of that argument in the evening, I said, all I remember saying to him was like, "And God forbid I'm pregnant." And he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "I don't know. I might be." Well, come to find out, 5 days later, I was. We were expecting our first baby. Great. Okay, wonderful. Fast
Oh
forward 6,
my
7 months. He's like, "I think we should get married." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, just, no, I don't. Why? For what?" "Well, the baby's gonna be born and, and we should, and it's the right thing and the last name and all the things, right?" And I was like, "No, no, no, I don't want to get married." So he goes and he talks to my mom, and he's like, "Hey, I'm asking your daughter to marry me, and she keeps saying no. Can you talk to her?" So my mom comes and she's like, "Hey, what's go," and I'm like, "I just don't wanna get married." And it was such an interesting way of, like, today I look at it and I think I didn't have the words. I couldn't articulate my feelings in regards to, "I don't really think this is gonna work out. This might have been a mistake. We're pregnant and I'm gonna figure this out."
And
I
you're
didn't have
20. You're 20 years old. You don't
I'm gonna turn 20.
Oh my
I'm gonna
gosh. Wow.
Oh, I all I said was, "I don't know. I don't know." I just kept doing that. "I don't know. No, I don't want them." And she's like, "Look, I'm gonna make you a deal." These were her words. "Get married. If it doesn't work out, I'll help you pay for the divorce." And I don't know why that just seemed like doable. Okay, well, because part of me, I thought about it, when I was recording this, and I thought, I had to have had this feeling of, then my mom doesn't have this expectation that I'm supposed to stay in this relationship, because she was with her partner for, like, 20 some odd years, and I know that wasn't a happy relationship, and I just felt so relieved, like, if my mom says I can get out of it, then no problem, I'll get married. Okay, so I shared this story, and he hears it because he follows me online because 'cause we're, like, really good friends.
Yeah.
He me and he says, "I never asked you to marry me."
What?
And let me backtrack 2 seconds. He FaceTimes me. He always FaceTimes me, and I'm like, excuse me, s," he's like, and he's laughing because he does this when he gets, like, really anxious and nervous. He's like, "Lily, I never asked you to marry me." And I said, "I'm sorry, did I imagine that?" And he's like, "I never asked you to ma," I said, "Did did I ask me to marry, did I ask you to?" And he's like, I asked you." And I'm like, "How did we get married?" And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. Like, your mom came to me." And I said, "Oh, I gotta call my mom. I'm gonna FaceTime her." He's like, "No, no, no." I'm like, "I'm this conversation." And I said, "If my mom asked me to marry me and you followed through with whatever she said," I said, "This is sad. This is sadder than I thought." He's like laughing. He's like, "No." I go, "No, no, let me call her." And he's like, "No, no, 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 no." He's like, Um, I said all I remember saying at the end of that conversation, because I think I was getting, like, really upset, and I
Yeah.
said, "I don't care to gaslight me. I know what I lived." I remember saying, "No, I didn't want to." Why wouldn't my mom say to me, "Look, if it's not for you, I'll help you pay for the divorce." And I said, "But I'm gonna get off the phone now." And I hung up, and that took me into a little tailspin because I was like, "Wait," you
Yeah.
know, that gaslighting part of, like, "Wait, am I okay, I was pregnant." My hormones. And then I'm like, "No, no, 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 what are we doing? We're not
How quick you just go right there, right? Like,
back
second.
to where I used to be."
Yeah, yeah,
No, 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 no.
yeah.
I have really good memory, especially for my trauma. No, sir. No. No, 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 no. And, one of his siblings, ended up, inserting their 2 cents, and I was like, "You didn't live my life. You didn't
Correct,
live
correct.
unfair, unfair."
You know what's interesting, Lily? What's really interesting to me is how quickly people diminish our version of our story. It's like, I'm pretty sure I lived it. Therefore, I would know because I was there.
I wa
But it's like especially family members, right? They're just like, they dismiss what you say. If you're telling them you're having issues or whatever, they diminish it or
Things
keep.
happen. Yeah.
It's so unbelievable to me that the people who you think are for you, they're really not for you. I mean,
Listen to what you just said.
mhm.
If you think they're for you, then somewhere in the back of their mind, they must be against themselves, and how
Yes,
sad it is. So I have to discount what you're saying because then I can't agree that I did that,
correct.
right? And
Yeah.
it took me a minute, and I thought one of the things that I teach these women is so there's regular gaslighting that happens from this person to you, and then there's internalized gaslighting that
Yeah.
then I start to do it to myself, and I was
Mhm.
like, "That we're not doing right now. You know your truth. You know what you lived." I remember how big I was when I got married. I remember, right? I remember the steps. I remember the conversation with my mom. I remember her walking me up the stairs to the place we were gonna go get married to, and her and I were walking up by ourselves, and she says, "Don't forget, no one's forcing you to stay in this if you think it doesn't work for you." And I was like, "Oh," like, just relief. I didn't make those pieces up. No, 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 no,
Right.
no. I'm not gonna, like, gaslight myself. It was such a learning opportunity again, such a reminder of the things that we go through, we put ourselves through,
Yes.
and that's so important to be able to say, "Hold on, I'm doing it again. Stop. I'm not doing this. I know what my truth is." Absolutely.
We have to be so self-aware to catch it though, because it's such a familiar pattern. Like you can just slide right back and not even until you're a few sentences in and you're like, wait a minute.
Here I go again. Or it it
Yeah. Yeah. But we also need to honor how much work we've done to get to this place. This didn't just happen overnight. We're talking about losing ourselves, claiming ourselves, losing ourselves, fighting like I just see us like with pegs, going up that pegboard, like fighting for every single moment and level of reclamation with the world telling you you're crazy and you have a problem.
you have a problem.
You're the problem.
We're the problem.
And they really convince you that you're the problem. And when you're walking alone, and I'm going to use both of us as an example because you can be alone without a partner. I was alone with a partner. You have to stand so fully in your integrity and your inner knowing, and we're both very intuitive, we have to start believing ourselves, right? And actually aligning our actions with our knowing and stop diminishing and, you know, shrinking and trying to fit in boxes that we no longer fit in. And I think this is why we love each other so much because
Because we get
we're
it.
not going back in the box.
Right, and if anything, we pull each other out of the box so often.
Yes.
Last time, how much did you give to me in that moment that we were having these conversations? You're like, "No, this is you, this is your truth, this is what happened, like, don't minimize it." And
Yeah.
you're right. And, I'm so glad that you brought up intuition because that is part of the process, and one of the things that I remind the women that I work with is, when did you lose your intuition, and what did that feel like, and how do we get it back?
Mhm.
And I feel that for me, my intuition it has been something that has been with me my whole life. There have been times where I have fully believed it. I know I have gotten myself out of situations, and we've talked about them before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Situations that I'm like, I need to remove myself from this, and because I knew something bad was going to come if I stayed in that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And even now, right? Because so we have I believe everybody's born with intuition. We either squeeze it out of ourselves,
Yes.
and then we remember it's there, and we kind of go back and try to follow it and be really intuitive, and then we doubt ourselves. No, I'm crazy. Okay, stop. Like, no. And
I
you
mean,
go
it's
in.
unwinding a very, very deep program.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a process, right? And even people I know that are super connected and they know they're connected, they don't trust it. But they can, here's the thing with intuition, you feel it.
Oh, yeah.
You feel and know. And, trauma or whatever it is pushes you to keep going against what you know, right? Because you're so conditioned to people please and want to belong to your family, be liked, not have everybody turn against you. I'll tell you, the toughest critics are often your own family members, which is why people don't love family reunions. Because you're all together in the soup, you know?
Oh, you know, you're so right. And that's interesting too because yesterday I was watching a show and this character's mom had just passed away. And they go to her funeral and they're sitting around having like dinner afterwards. And the one of the granddaughter of the person that passed asked, what happened? And why don't we talk about her? And dad says, because she was a mean soul.
Hmm.
They're like, "God, we don't talk. They're dead. Why would you say that?" And he tells a story of like how basically when he was really young, he got her out of a drunken stupor and she kicked his nose in. And he left that day forever and ever and ever, right? And it was one of these moments of like, so fast forward the show, the little girl's crying and she's like, I'm so sorry, daddy, that happened to you. And he goes, it's okay, honey. And he says, you know, I went to that. She goes, why did you go to the funeral? And he goes, I didn't go to mourn her. I went to celebrate. And I thought, wow, there's so many people that have been so hurt by the people
Yeah.
closest to them that
Yes.
their closure isn't there with grief and tears and boo-hoo, woe is me, coulda,
Well,
shoulda,
it's
woulda.
tears of, like, redemption and joy, maybe. I don't know.
So that reminds me of these moments of like, you're right. The people closest to us can do the most harm.
Yeah, because you have a long history, right? You have a long history. And even sometimes it's not that they're bad people, but their trauma's speaking. Their trauma is leading, right? If they healed their trauma, there wouldn't be these issues. But often, we're talking about generational trauma that is deep and pervasive. And in the end, ultimately, they played a critical role for us because of our experience. We had to fight for ourselves. We had to own and claim ourselves. learn boundaries, hold boundaries, listen, and take action that was moving us forward, even if it meant leaving them behind. And I think for both of us, we really have something to say and we really have a role to play here as people start to awaken to remember who they are and that they are so much more than what they've been told they are, right?
Exactly. That part is so important. Who they've been told they are by the external voices, mom, parents,
Mhm.
culture, you name it. And then the internalized part that I start now saying it to me. I am. I am dumb. I don't know how to. I'm X, Y, and Z. You start to believe those things so many times over
Right,
and over and over.
right.
We in our family, we don't get divorced, right? I remember when I did get divorced, my one of my mom's sisters, I went to go visit, and she said to me, close up, your uncle doesn't know.
I'm like, don't tell him because it's gonna cause problems?
I,
What?
I was like, I remember looking. So at this point, I was like, what, 22? I got divorced by 22. So I got married by 20. I was divorced by 22.
Yeah, and 2 babies later, right?
Babies. I had a 22-month-old and a 30-day-old when I was like, this isn't going to work out. And shortly after, we went to her house for a gathering, and she's like, your, your uncle doesn't know. And I remember looking, because I was sitting somewhere, and I remember looking up at her like, wait, what are you trying to tell me? She doesn't. And she like walks away. And I'm thinking, because I was gonna make an announcement, uh, just everybody, like, it's a kid's birthday party for crying out loud. Like, I'm gonna take
Oh
this.
my
I
god.
was so confused. So then I sat with it, and I thought, I looked at my mom, and I'm like, "My uncle does he need to know?" I was so naive about it, and she's like,
Yeah,
"We'll talk about it." And I was like, "Okay." So, I didn't go to make a grand announcement. We did what we had to do. We cut cake, got my boys, went home.
right.
Drive home, I'm asking my mom, "What was that about?" And she's like, "Well, she just doesn't want to tell your uncle that you're divorced." I'm like, "That you're separated at this point, basically." And I was like, "Why? But why is it his business?" And she's like, "Well, she's old school. You know how she is." And I'm like, "Okay, I will tell you the times I can count them on one hand, how many times I've gone back, because it didn't feel welcome. I had to hide a part of me."
Right, right.
And it was funny because the few times I did go back for these little birthday parties, my uncle would be like, "Where's, the boy's dad?" And I literally would jump out of my skin and be, "Oh, he's working. Oh, he was busy." I'm lying.
Oh gosh,
I
wow.
did it. As much as I felt like that's so
Until when? Like, at some point, when
uh,
after 5 years, he probably noticed, right?
we went to a different family gathering, and I went with somebody I was dating.
Oh,
L l Can I tell you what she told me? She says to me,
it's
she comes
great.
up in front of everyone, she's like, "Hi, sweetie." And then she's like, "I need you to introduce your boyfriend to your uncle." And then my only thought was, "Is he gonna think I'm cheating?" Like, that
Right, that's right,
where's your
exactly.
husband? And I was like, "Oh, my uncle wasn't dumb,
Right.
you know?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, this is so and so," and he says hi to him, shakes his hand, whatever, like, not a big deal. I never saw this guy again. I think we dated for, like, 30 days. He happened to be with me at this function. And then I thought, "Oh my god, like, I can never bring a man around because he's already met these 2 people, the boy's
He's gonna
father."
think you're just cycling through
Yeah,
boyfriends,
I
men.
thought forever and ever and ever, and I was like, I just
God.
so I really kind of that's a
Distanced yourself a little bit. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Don't you think, Lily, that we're at such a pivotal time right now for women specifically to find their voice? And what I'm noticing, and you might be too, I'm curious, But in my practice, I'm noticing this almost activation or inner knowing, like like all of a sudden the lights came on and they're like, wait a minute, what? What am I doing? I want to break free. I want to be free to be who I am and here to be.
What
And what does
and
that
why
look like? How do you get there, right? It's a process.
I have I have gone through so many different, I wish I can count how many clients I've had. Actually, I know that in the past, since COVID, that I started seeing clients on my well, I'm gonna say 2022 that I actually started doing this for my own, where I started billing on my own.
Mhm.
I've had about 200 clients. And
Wow.
this is only yeah, this is only and I mean, some clients have been with me for, like, a year, 2 years, 2.5
Mhm.
years. One,
Mhm.
I've for, like, 4 years. They come in and out of services and stuff like
Mhm.
that, just do check-ins or whatever. And one thing that I have, learned along and mind you, I've been doing this for almost 20 years,
Right.
is that you just said, there's this knowing, this awakening, this part that says, "I need something different,"
Yeah.
is everywhere.
Mhm.
Because women come in and they're like, "I'm so sad. I'm so depressed. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think it's menopause. I think it's depression. I think it's because my kids are moving out. I think it's because my kids
And
moved out."
they're so quick to put a label on it, right?
It's all these other things, right?
Right.
And when I inquire about, "Well, tell me about your life and, your partnerships and, oh, you're married. Oh, when did you meet? How did that how
Mm.
has these past 25 years been for you?" And there's sadness and grief and mourning and just loss over and over and over and over and over. And I'm thinking, yeah, we would be depressed, right? When your partner has cheated on you for the past 10 years on and
Mhm.
off, and that you've forgiven, or that you have to beg to get a new pair of shoes or an outfit to go to this event, or you have to scrape pennies to go buy the shampoo you need for your curly hair,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
you don't need different razors, you can just go ahead and use my leftover. Women are like, "Well, I thought that's just, how
Normal?
we compromise, we meet halfway." And I said, "He meets you
Except that it's only they're not meeting you at all, and you're meeting them 100%. So
meet them 150%."
there's that, right?
And they're like, "Oh, I you know, but I got the luxury of staying home." Okay,
As
alright.
if that added no value to the family or their success, right? There's so many places where we've been diminished when what we were doing was so impactful for the family and so powerful. And, we're modeling something for our children. We're modeling what a relationship looks like. We're modeling integrity and honesty and strength, or we're modeling weakness and compromise and sacrifice.
Lack of integrity, lack of responsibility, lack
Exactly.
of
Not
accountability.
consciously, it's just our unconscious programming. We both come from cultures, right? Where the woman, she bears it, man. She bears it all. She's the homemaker. She's the matriarch. She is the center and pillar of the family, often also has a career, but is always expected to sacrifice to be there when they're needed, right? In the Asian culture, it's similar. It's family first. You remain quiet. Do not, do not rock the boat. You feel grateful. You should be grateful. Your husband is earning a good living, that you have a nice lifestyle. Don't be careful. Be careful what you say, you know?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I came in wired to say what I need to say. And I'm not
Exactly.
good at being the good girl. I'm not the good girl. Stuff comes out of my mouth before before I even know what's coming out of my mouth, and also if it's not coming out of my mouth, my face is telling you everything you need to know. Like, I can't hide it, I cannot. And so, it's problematic if as you can imagine, because 'cause you've probably
Oh, yeah.
experienced that too. Mhm.
That reminds me in one of these posts I shared so we call that when you're like, "Don't rock the boat, quiet, just you keep the peace."
Right.
That's self-abandonment.
Yes.
We abandon ourselves all the time in order to keep the peace.
Yes.
So somebody says to me, "What do you mean by you" so at the end of this, I said, "I chose me instead of keeping the peace."
Yeah.
And it's such a disconnection for some it was men commenting,
Mm.
"You're so ass backwards," was the comment. And I was like, "Let me explain to you why it's"
Yeah, let's go deeper here.
I
Yeah.
said, "For us growing up, choosing the peace was stay quiet, don't rock the boat, play
Mhm.
nice. When
Mhm.
you're gonna say something, be mindful of how you say it. You don't wanna upset him. You people please.
Right.
You" and I often said that because that used to be me. I
Yeah.
was such a bubblehead. "Mm,
Me
yeah,
too. Me
sure,
too. Yeah.
yes." I said, "So I chose me
Mhm.
to say, 'No, this isn't gonna work for me. You can leave. You wanna leave and go party and not come home for 3 or 4 nights while you have 2 babies at home? You could do that. I'm out.'" And I
Mm.
instead of saying, "Okay, he apologized. I I'll get over it for the sake of these 2 babies." I was like, "I don't know how this is gonna be moving forward, but this is not the life I want."
What's
And
incredible is you knew that so young.
I did. But this is why, Wendy, and this is the part that we sometimes forget. Growing up, we are raised in these environments
Mhm.
where we see these relationships developing or they're in
Right.
front of our eyes and you're like, "Oh, that's what I do. Okay, my mom forgave that, then okay." Like, that's where we learn. We're
Right.
little errors, right?
Yes.
I remember growing up, and I don't know how young I was, often saying this to myself, "I will not be my mom." I love my mom. I
Wow.
know my mom was a strong person.
Powerful. Yeah.
I do not wanna be her
Yeah.
because she put up with the relationship she felt she had no choice but to stay in. He was disrespectful, he didn't come home to sleep. He would leave on the weekends right after work. He would just take off and, not come back until the next, workday. And he drank and, we ended up seeing him we caught him, with another female. Her and I together. And I was like, "I don't wanna be her."
Yeah.
I mean, my mom ended up moving out of that room. She ended up, sleeping in my room with my sister for until they ended up I just didn't wanna be her. So when I saw myself in a situation where the first time he stays out, I'm li the first time that he wanted to go party with the boys, I was like, "That's not gonna happen. Take your clothes, bye." And he comes back an hour later and he's like, "Oh, I decided not to go." Okay. Um, Fast forward 2 babies later where he doesn't come home Thursday, Friday, Saturday, shows up Sunday morning. The baby had just turned 30 days. And I'm thinking, I'm getting ready to go to mass, to go for the first time with this baby out after having birthed this child. He walks in and he says to me, "For what it's worth, sorry."
Oh, that was the apology.
That was the apology.
Wow.
I said, "It's not worth anything."
Mhm.
End of story. And I finish getting ready. We both go to church. I'm quiet the whole time. Come back from church. "Do you wanna go get breakfast?" "No." Come back from church. He's, like, gonna punish me for whatever I don't know. I come home. I had put a load to wash of baby clothes. So I'm folding everything, putting it in. He comes in and he looks at me and he says, "Don't pack. I'll leave."
What?
All I said was, "Okay." Because I'm folding baby clothes to put it away. And he's thinking I'm packing because 'cause I'm leaving with 2 babies. Where am I gonna go? So, he leaves that night, sleeps
Gosh.
in in the morning, his, car ride comes to pick him up to go to work. He picks up some clothing, some items, and he throws it in the back of his car, and they leave. And I was like, "Oh, that was easy." I'm worried. I don't have a job. I haven't worked in a couple of years,
Right.
right? 30 days later, one, his parents came over and was like, "You guys have to get back together for the for the sake of those children. You guys, they're baby." And I was like, "No, ma'am, your son didn't come home for 3 nights. Shows up on the 4th day telling me for what it's worth." She goes home. She must have said the same thing to him. He calls me within 15, 20 minutes from when they had to have arrived. And he's like, "Hey, you done with your tantrum?"
Wow.
That was the way I
Oh my gosh.
"You done with your tantrum?" Guess what my response was, Wendy? I said, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm over this tantrum." He's like, "Great, I'll be there in 15, 20 minutes." I said, "Oh, no, 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 no." I said, "Oh, no, no, don't misunderstand. You were my tantrum. I'm over it."
Oh my god.
Yeah. And that was on maybe a Sunday. That following Monday or Tuesday, I end up reaching out to the person that helped me file my divorce because I was like, "It took you 30 days to find." He didn't call to see how the kids were. Did they have enough? He's the one that provided. He provided food, money, shelter. I didn't know how I was about to pay this rent again.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Is your tantrum over?" And he figured, okay, she's down to the wire. She's gonna
Right.
need money. The babies don't have X,
Mm.
Y, and Z.
How did you do it? How did you do it? I'm just so curious.
Because my mom, she was working. By this time, she had divorced her husband.
Mhm.
Um, and then Wendy, she lived. If I lived in apartment 4, she was in apartment 3.
What?
Yes. So I wasn't alone per se,
Right, right.
but I mean, she had enough to take care of herself, and my sister was really young, so they were there. But my mom said, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna figure it out." Number 1, I knew I couldn't go back to this. I didn't wanna be my mom. I didn't wanna forgive him and get back and then
Right. It's a cycle, right? You just repeat the
you know,
cycle.
that I didn't wanna do. So I had called my, landlord and, I said, "Okay, so here's the situation. I just got separated, blah, blah, blah." And she's like, "Okay." She's like, "You know what? I get it. I've been there. Pay me half of the rent." And I was like, "Oh my god, thank you so." I cried when I hung up, and I was so grateful.
Oh.
Oh, I was worrying about, like, how am I gonna come up with that? But,
Right,
okay, that's better than 100%. Okay, great.
right.
That was one. Um, and my mom, obviously, if she ate, we ate, right?
Mhm.
That was bottom line. And then at this point, when I went to go talk to the paralegal and he kinda put me on to, like, anything and everything that was available by our government, I didn't know, um, I didn't know welfare existed, I didn't know food stamps existed, I didn't know that I can go file and they would help me with, like, child support. I didn't know any of that, and
Wow.
he said to me, "This is what you're gonna do." He helped me fill out the paperwork. "Tomorrow, you're gonna go to the DPSS office. You're gonna stand in line with X, Y, and Z in your pocket already. You're gonna take your kids with you, and you're gonna file for this type of application." So, they gave me an emergency sort of like, "Here you go," and I was
Wow.
that was so eye-opening to me because I was like, "I don't really have to go." Because there was moments that I was like, "Okay, do I ask him for money? But then he's gonna want something in return," because they always do.
Yes.
And I was like, so that was all God sent. He was a godsend. He
What
helped
a
me
gift. What a
what yeah,
gift.
and this is something I share often with the ladies that are coming in saying, "I don't know what to do. I'm stuck. I have no money. I have no income." And I'm like, there's things you can do. There's literal things that we can do to make things happen." So that was so helpful because it helped me stay on track. And I say this to my mom's like, I don't know how many women I know that do this, that they broke up and they never went back to try to see if it would work out again. I never did. It was like we were mortal enemies for about 2 years until the divorce was, like, finalized, and he was really upset that, the judge ordered child support, daycare, and insurance, and he was upset about it, and I was like, I
Okay.
didn't have to be on welfare for more than I think it was a full 2 years, and I was able to get, off of it because I had a full-time job. I went back to school, and, I was getting, all other types of assistance being out, financial aid from school. I had
Right.
had a couple of part-time jobs. So I was able to kind of get back on my feet that way.
Yeah, huge. That's so huge.
Um,
I'm
yeah,
just
but those
I just admire you so much for just sometimes we don't know the way, but we do know that what we're experiencing has got to end. And it requires a lot of faith, it requires courage, it requires just trust in ourselves, you know? I know people put a lot of faith in God. That's great. But we also have to have the tenacity and the strength and the courage to take the steps to make all of this happen. It doesn't always just fall right into our laps. You had to fill out that paperwork. You had to go and talk to this person who happened to be so compassionate and kind, who just took your hand and said, "This is how we're going to do it, and you're going to be okay." And I feel like you've had many of those types of encounters and blessings throughout your life. We're just at the right place and the right time when you just think, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And then
that
boom, something opens up for you, right?
tell you the I cannot tell you how I mean, even to get my master's degree, I say this often, it happened by accident. I'm a therapist by accident. I think I've been a therapist since I was really young. I think I was my family's sort of like go-to for anything and everything. I was at work. I had just gotten my bachelor's. I'm at work. These 2 girls that started working a couple of months after I did said, "Hey, we're gonna go to this school. There's an orientation. Do you wanna go with us?" And I was like, "I'm so done with school. No." And they're like, "Look, we're gonna get $500 if
Ooh.
we take a person with us. So we'll share it." And I was like, "100 and something? Okay." Like, I only went
To the
because
money?
financial incentive for me. And as a single parent, you will take anything and everything you can
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, when is it?" "Well, we're gonna go on this Wednesday. It starts at 6 o'clock." Blah, blah. I was like, "Okay, great." It wasn't far from where we worked, and they wanted to get into this psychology master's program. And I was already with this thought, like, I'm so done with school. I'm like,
Mm.
"Oh, I can't." And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this orientation and this one teacher this one professor, he's talking about the profession, how long he's been in it, and he basically described me as a young person, having been my family's kind of like therapist and go-to person, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so me, that's so me, that's so I wanna do this. I need to do this." And then I was like, "Where do I sign?" I got into school.
Oh my gosh.
That is how I got into school, and that is how I'm doing that up until this moment. When I was working for the community mental health nonprofit agencies, I cannot tell you how miserable I was on and off throughout those 16 years. There was times that it was like, "This is great. I loved helping with people. I love the part where I was supervising, helping people, helping
Right.
families." In fact, love that. And then the bureaucracy and the
Right.
heaviness, the have
Right.
to, that you're gonna get written up if your staff isn't doing X, Y, and Z. Now, from COVID this way, where I started really practicing having my own clients, working from home, never having to go back to the agency, there has not been, Wendy, one day up until now, knock on wood, and I know that if this ever happens, I'm like, "I gotta call it. I'm gonna call it.
It's
This is."
life on your terms, baby. I love it.
I've not woken up one day yet thinking, "Ugh, long oh
Not
god,
only
oh."
that, the lifestyle that you've curated for yourself is pretty fabulous, I might add. Lots of vacations, lots of sun and fun and R&R and balance, which you never would have had if you had stayed
I
in
had
the
to
agencies.
get permission to take 5 days off, to convert it into 7 days. Right? I had to ask for permission. I had to
Right.
feel so bad and guilty that I had to call out sick because now I'm behind on X, Y, and Z. Now I let my clients know, "Hey, I'm gonna be out of town in 3 weeks for about X, Y. I won't see you this week." And yes, you're right. I do balance and I do take my vacations and I'll take
I
them
love
any
it. I love it for you.
have to do these things for ourselves. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be here if that initial part never took place, right? Like,
Right. But also to be able to, better service and show up for your clients because you're in a space of fabulous mental health, even and show up for your family, your sons who are doing amazing things, but still, our mental health matters. And it's so important for us to remember to really honor what we need. And that's still hard for me sometimes. That's something I still, even though I've had so much practice in honoring my truth and, I still have to catch myself because I want to overgive. I have to like, ooh, rein it back in, check in. What feels appropriate? What feels appropriate for me right now? Because my first impulse is to like, oh, of course, come, I'll feed you, come on over, especially with my kids, right? My adult kids. Food is my love language, cooking and nurturing. And, sometimes I'm burned out. I feel like, not tonight, you know?
well, I've gotten so good at saying not tonight. My oldest and I live together, and he does his own thing, and he opened up his cat lounge,
Yeah, I
not far,
love that.
and we often will, like, feed each other, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna pick up X, on my way home," or I'll make lunch and I'll drive down and I'll take him something to eat,
Yeah.
and there's times that I'm like, I don't wanna cook and I'll text him. I am not up to, like, making anything, and he's like, "I'll pick X, Y, and Z up." Or he says, "Yeah, me neither. How about we just, like, have a whatever," like, he'll pick up a sandwich or a bagel, and I'm like, "Oh, perfect. I didn't wanna make."
Yeah. I have that same, with my sons too, because I'm always watching a baby or a dog, and so they're coming for pickups, so but it's nice to be able to live life on our terms, and I feel like we exude and radiate this joy and happiness because we can have the stress tolerance to choose ourselves, and without apology, without regret, without guilt. What a gift that we got here.
What a gift. What a
Yeah,
gift. And that we are here, and that we do
we're
still
here.
practice it, and I don't take any of that for granted because there are moments where if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I hate to ask you, I know you're home. Would it be possible for you to pick up my baby from daycare because they're so sick?" And I'm like, "Yes, not a problem. Oh my gosh, yes, thank you. Yes, no problem." But also that
With
if I'm
boundaries,
like
right?
I'm like, "I have clients, don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Oh, I wish I could." No, 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 no. And I love that someone can understand
Yeah.
when I say, "I do you think they can wait until 30 minutes more?" What? "Oh, yeah, not a problem." Or, let me call my sister, let me call their dad," whatever it is. And I'm like, "Thank you for understanding."
And
And not
inevitably, though, it works out. It all works out, right? People figure
but
it out.
and how many times have I get off and I'm like, "Oh, I have clients until da 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 time." And then, for example, with my sister, 2 minutes later, I get the client that was at the end of that, and they're like, "Hey, Liliana, I'm so sorry, this is last I can't make it today." "Sweetie, say less. We'll reschedule." I don't "Hey, sister, guess what just happened? I could
But
care
isn't it like that's what life is in the flow when you're in the flow state? I really feel that. I feel things just like the seas just kind of part. I can't explain it. I can't tell you why, but I think when you're aligned and you are living in truth, everything in resonance to that. It just starts to kind of flow and it starts to kind of open and things come with more ease, to the point where it becomes normal and then it becomes so normal you like expect it, and then you kind of feed and fuel the energy of that.
And
Seems
all
like
that
for me.
it just again, practice, really working on yourself, listening to your intuition, developing your intuition. When
Yes.
you wanna say no, the last relationship I was in, there was a part of me that was like, "Don't do it," and I did it.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But how quickly did I get myself out of that?
Mhm.
With I was young, okay, I dated my boy's father, we moved in, we got married, we had these 2 babies, and I was like, this isn't gonna work out." And so forth. I've tracked my relationships in regards to how long I've stayed in them, and I never overstayed from, like, even because I was with the boy's father since I was, like, 16, because we met when we were younger, and I dated him throughout high school and whatnot, and then I was divorced by 22, okay? So, the next relationship was, like, only 3 years, and I realized this isn't gonna work out, I gotta go. And the next relationship was 2 years, and I was like, this isn't." So this relationship, we moved in, and it was 6 weeks in, and I said, "This isn't gonna work out."
My gosh.
And anybody listening is gonna be like, "Oh, there's a problem with her."
No, that's progress. I consider that's
That's
progress,
progress,
right?
exactly.
Let's
'Cause
call it what it is. That's progress. That's our little spidey senses going, "Yeah, no," and listening to it immediately and not going the distance and creating more stress down the road.
because what do you normally hear? "Really?" Because he said this to me, my last relationship. He's like, "Oh, so great track record. This is what you're showing your boys? That you can only be in a relationship for this long and it's done? Because I don't want your dogs to live inside the house." I said, "Sir, you knew my dogs lived inside my house. You can go." But the gaslighting and that
Oh,
wanting to
yeah.
shame and guilt me into staying in a relationship because this was gonna what were people gonna say about me? I said, "They're not gonna say I'm a fucking idiot. That's what they're not gonna say. We're staying in a relationship with the jackass because, oh, God forbid, what are people gonna say?" I said, "They're not gonna say I'm stupid. That's what they're not gonna say." So 6 weeks in, I said, "This isn't this isn't gonna work out, sir. We need
Yeah,
to
yeah,
call like, this is it." So, yeah, I think that's progress. When you're in something and you think it
absolutely.
and then you're like, "Actually, it's not."
You know
Nope.
what I think for us, honestly, is we are becoming the one to find the one. All of our experience has been just fine tuning and honing that healthiest, most vibrant, alive, open hearted version of us. And that person who can meet us is out there.
I believe it 100.
We're going to find that person. I know what's for me is coming for me. I don't have to work it. I don't have to push it. I don't have to chase it. That is already written. That is written in my soul contract, and it is just going to be gifted right into my lap when the time is right. I don't need to wait or chase or prove or need or beg for the crumbs. I'm going to have the whole effing banquet, man, all the way. And I cannot wait.
I love that. I love that for you. I love that for absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing. And I think we're so blessed that we've had the wisdom to keep staying true to ourselves despite so much adversity. And there have been many times I've felt alone. Just I'm like, I am alone in this, whatever this is, right? But I swear what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm gonna rise like that phoenix, man. I'm gonna like go up in flames in a good way, right?
That's the part, what
Mhm.
doesn't kill you teaches you how
Yeah.
to do it differently tomorrow, right? How to
Totally.
overgive, be the people pleaser, to be the bobblehead, right? You're
You
like,
know what you lose? You lose the resentment. You lose the anger, and you gain your soul. You reclaim your soul. That's what you do.
you reclaim your soul, your peace.
Mhm.
That's priceless. I don't hold any resentment towards any relationship I've ever been in. I don't. I feel like every single one has stepped into my life to teach me a different part of me. And a lot of
Absolutely.
boundaries, setting limits,
Mhm.
saying no, listening to my intuition, even
Mhm.
when I'm like, "I know it, I know it, I know it." I'll be the only one that will speak to me in a way, be like, "Girl, you wanted to prove yourself right. Here you go. Wrong." Right? Like, "Nope, your intuition knows better." So,
Right.
my internal conversations, I don't hold resentment. I
Yeah.
don't. There's no one that takes peace away from me because 'cause I'm sitting here thinking, "How dare they do me so ugly and so dirty?" And I let that happen to I don't. I was like, "Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Never gave
I'm
it a."
I'm more like, what did I learn from that? How am I gonna turn this pain into power, you know? And I am so excited to see what happens next with your new project. We're gonna have to have you back on when you launch it so that we can see.
I'm
It's gonna
excited.
explode. It's gonna be incredible. You're gonna help
Mhm.
so many people.
Yeah, I wanna do in person to really launch just a couple of workshops to do in person
Mhm.
because the group factor of it, I feel is always so powerful versus one-on-one is
Absolutely.
powerful, it's great, wonderful, lovely. But the group, I think is I'm so ready for that.
How can people find you? How
They
can
can
people work
find
with
me.
you?
Yes, thank you. I have a Instagram account or, the Instagram account basically they can go to is, Liliana underscore, uh, can I send it to you? Because that
Yeah,
one's
just
and the other
yeah.
one is my normal at Corazon Cultura Loteria. That's the one that I've had for the longest time. I tend to lean more into the Spanish content there, and the Liliana underscore, Gen X therapist, I think is the full name of it, is where I load the
Well,
same
you
content.
can send me the links, and I will put that in the show notes. I'll edit it in, and thank you, my darling, for a wonderful conversation and for being with me today. It's always so special when we connect. I love you so much. And to my audience, thank you so much for being here with us. Go out in the world, be kind, love yourselves, and please, please click subscribe if you haven't subscribed. It's free. It helps my content get out there. I need to be better about it. I know, I know. But I'll talk to y'all next time. Take care. Bye.